I thought I knew my wife. 8 years together, 5 of them married, we built a life that felt real, solid. But then, little things started to feel off. A charger. A second phone. And one night, I found something I was never meant to see. What came next unraveled everything I believed about love, trust, and the person I thought I'd grow old with. This isn't just a story about cheating, it's about how far someone will go to hide who they really are.
To protect the privacy of the author and narrator, all names and locations are fictional, and the voice has been intentionally modified.
Hey Reddit. I never thought I'd be posting here, but honestly, I don't know what else to do right now. I've been reading posts here for years, and they always seemed like stories that happened to other people, you know, the kind you shake your head at and think, that sucks, but I'd see that coming a mile away. Turns out, you never really do. Let me give you a little background. My wife, let's call her Elle, and I have been together for 8 years, married for 5. We met at a mutual friend's game night. She absolutely crushed me at code names, and I was hooked. She was sharp, witty, beautiful, and confident in this way that pulled people toward her. I fell fast. We moved in together within a year and got married not long after that. For a while, it was good. We had our fights, like any couple, but we always made up. She'd leave sweet notes on the fridge. I'd bring her coffee in bed. We had inside jokes. We had plans, house, kids someday, maybe move out of the city. But over the past year or so, something shifted. I can't pinpoint exactly when, but I started feeling like I was living with a roommate instead of a partner. She was distant, not cold, just absent. We used to watch shows together every night. Suddenly she always had work late or was too tired. Her phone, which she used to leave on the couch or counter without a second thought, was now always face down or in her back pocket. Password changed, too. I told myself I was overthinking it. Paranoid, even. I mean, she said she loved me. She still kissed me goodbye. Still made dinner sometimes. But something was off. You ever feel like someone's physically present but emotionally just already gone? Anyway, I pushed it down for months. Convinced myself it was a rough patch. Maybe she was stressed from work. Maybe I wasn't being attentive enough. I blamed myself, which now feels both stupid and heartbreaking. But that uneasy feeling? It never really left. And eventually, it led me to a truth I wish I could unlearn. It started with a charger. Yeah, I know, sounds dumb. But sometimes it's the little things, right? One night about 2 months ago, Elle asked me to grab her phone charger from her bag. Totally normal request. I grabbed the bag, opened the front pocket, and there it was. Her phone. Unlocked. Now, she never leaves her phone unlocked. She's one of those people who shuts her screen even when walking across the living room. So, for it to be open, and right there it felt like fate, or maybe a trap. I hesitated. I'm not proud of what I did next, but I swiped down and opened her messages. The first thing I saw was a chat with a contact saved as Ashley, Yoga. Innocent enough. Except the preview said, "I miss your hands already, winky face." I froze. I'm not an idiot. I've never met an Ashley. And Elle doesn't do yoga. So I opened the thread. Pages and pages of messages. Not from Ashley. From a guy named Evan. Photos. Voice notes. Plans. Nicknames. Jokes. Talk about me, he cold, dismissive stuff, like I was a boring prop in her play. I couldn't believe what I was reading. It was like someone had slipped into my life and rewritten it in a language I didn't understand. She wasn't just cheating, she was living another life behind my back. A fun, flirty, high school romance kind of life. The worst part? The last message. Same time tomorrow? He never notices anything anyway, winky face. That's when it hit me in the chest. I dropped the phone like it burned me. My ears were ringing. I just stood there, staring at the bag. My hands were shaking. And then I heard the front door open. She was home. She walked in like nothing happened. "Hey babe," she called out, dropping her keys in the bowl like she always did. "Dinner okay if we order in tonight?" I'm beat. I stood there in the hallway, her phone still unlocked on the console table. My heart was thumping so loud I was sure she could hear it. I must have looked pale, or stiff, or something, because she immediately paused. "You good?" she asked, giving me this light, casual smile, like she wasn't hiding anything. I picked up the phone. Held it out. "Who's Evan?" Her smile vanished. For a split second, maybe half a second, I saw panic flash across her face. Not sadness. Not guilt. Just raw, calculating panic. Then it was gone, replaced by a laugh. A laugh? "Oh my God," she said, rolling her eyes. "You're going through my phone now." I didn't say anything. I just stared. She sighed dramatically, then crossed her arms. "Evan is a friend. From work. He's just flirty, it's how he talks. I told you about him. We had a client dinner last week, remember?" I didn't remember. She kept going. "He's got a girlfriend. He's literally harmless. I can't believe you're spying on me like this, do you not trust me now?" Classic deflection. Turn it on me. I wanted to scream. But instead, I asked calmly, "So the part where he said, 'I miss your hands already,' that's just a joke?" She blinked. For the first time, she didn't have a quick answer. Then she scoffed again. "You're taking things out of context. That's private, and you're twisting it. This is exactly why I don't talk to you about stuff anymore, you always assume the worst." I swear to God, in that moment, I actually started to doubt myself. Like, maybe I was making it worse than it was. Maybe I had crossed a line. But deep down, I knew the truth. I'd seen the tone of those messages. The inside jokes. That "can't wait to feel your lips again" texts. That's not work talk. That's not friendship. That's not innocent. I just said one thing before I walked out of the room. "Don't gaslight me, Elle." I read everything. Her silence behind me was deafening. After that night, everything cracked. She barely spoke to me the next morning. No apology. No explanation. Just icy silence and the occasional passive-aggressive sigh, like I had done something wrong. She acted more annoyed than guilty. That, weirdly, hurt even more than the cheating. Still, I needed answers. I needed to know if what I saw was the whole truth, or just the tip of the iceberg. So, yeah, I started digging. I remembered she used to back up her photos to an old shared cloud account we forgot to disconnect. I logged in, and there they were. Hundreds of pictures, some selfies of her at work, some of her out with friends. Normal stuff, until they weren't. There were photos from a conference she went to last November. Except, in one of them, taken in the mirror of a hotel bathroom, I spotted 2 toothbrushes. A man's hoodie hanging on the chair. And then a picture of her sitting on a bed, clearly taken by someone else, someone not visible, but very much there. I checked the dates. She told me she was out of town for a company leadership retreat. I even remembered feeling proud of her. I sent her flowers to the hotel room that weekend. She never mentioned getting them. That weekend, she was with him. And it didn't stop there. I looked through her Venmo. Payments labeled coffee teacup with handle hash, thanks babe, for lunch red heart hash. Recurring ones. From an account named E. Miles. Evan Miles. Found him on LinkedIn. Not from her office. Not even the same company. I felt sick. Betrayal is bad enough, but the sheer amount of planning, the layers of lies? That's what broke me. It wasn't just cheating. It was a double life. I didn't confront her right away. I couldn't. I needed time to breathe, to process. I walked around our neighborhood for hours that night, past the coffee shop where we used to go on Sundays, past the park where we once talked about baby names. Everything felt poisoned now. When I finally went home, she was on the couch, scrolling through her phone like nothing was wrong. I sat down across from her and said, I know everything now. Not just the texts. I saw the photos. The transactions. I even found Evan on LinkedIn. He doesn't work with you. She froze, not in surprise this time, but like someone who just got caught rehearsing the wrong script. Then the tears started. Loud. Dramatic. Like she flipped a switch. You were spying on me? That's emotional abuse, do you know that? You violated my privacy. No wonder I was looking for comfort somewhere else. I didn't feel safe with you anymore. I just sat there, stunned. She wasn't denying anything. She was reframing it, blaming me for her affair. I made a mistake, she finally said between sniffles. But it only happened once. It didn't mean anything. I was confused. You've been so distant lately. There it was again, that you made me do it routine. Like I had cheated her into someone else's bed. I stayed calm. I asked her, was it just once, or was it in November? Or last month? Or every Tuesday, like your texts say? Silence. Then she whispered, you don't understand what it's like to feel invisible in your own marriage. That line stuck with me. Not because it made sense, but because I realized she believed it. Like if she could just frame the narrative right, I'd be the villain and she'd be the wounded heroine. It wasn't guilt. It was strategy. After the confrontation, I started sleeping in the guest room. I couldn't stand sharing a bed with her. She kept trying to act like things were tense, like we'd had a fight we could just move past. She even had the audacity to ask if I wanted to go to couples therapy. But at that point, I was done trusting anything she said. Still, something kept nagging at me, like I still wasn't seeing the full picture. And unfortunately, I was right. A few days later, I noticed a small black notebook peeking out from under the dresser in our bedroom. I picked it up. It was one of those little leather journals she always carried around, the kind she used to jot down random thoughts, poetry, grocery lists. Inside was a handwritten password. Not to her phone. Not to our shared Netflix. But to a Gmail account I'd never seen before. The username? Something generic, like Luna.Green27. Totally unrelated to any of her usual usernames. That was my red flag. I hesitated for a long time. My stomach turned just thinking about logging in, about finding more. But I did it. And what I found was worse than anything I'd imagined. Dozens of emails. Some to Evan, some to other usernames I didn't recognize. Attachments. Receipts. Photo dumps from hotel rooms and weekend getaways she never told me about. She had entire plans with this guy. Not just hookups, but discussions about moving to another city. About starting fresh. And the worst part? There was an email, dated 2 weeks before I found out, with a link to a real estate listing in Denver. Her message said, "Look at this one. I can picture us in the kitchen together. Cozy, right? Red heart # I'd leave tomorrow if I could." She was planning to leave me. Just hadn't gotten around to telling me yet. I shut the laptop and just sat there in the dark. Feeling hollow. Like my marriage had been a movie set. Just props and scripts and lighting. And she was already halfway into her next scene. After finding that email account, I couldn't pretend anymore. I couldn't rationalize her behavior, couldn't entertain her mistake narrative. It wasn't a one-time thing. It wasn't even a love affair anymore. It was a plan to disappear, a calculated exit strategy from the life we built together. And she was still sleeping in our bed like nothing had changed. I decided to play dumb for a couple of days. I needed time to think, to prepare. but the mask she wore started slipping the moment she thought she had me on the ropes. She started being weirdly nice. Cooking dinner, asking about my day, calling me a babe again. It was like watching an actress trying to ad-lib a scene after forgetting her lines. Clumsy, rehearsed affection. I played along, but internally, I was gone. Then one night she said it. I really think we can get through this, maybe we just needed a wake-up call. A wake-up call. Like she'd tripped over a laundry basket and accidentally fell into someone else's bed for months. I looked at her and said nothing. Just nodded. She took that as progress. She even smiled. But something shifted in her face. A flicker of discomfort, like she knew I wasn't reacting the way I was supposed to. I wasn't breaking down. I wasn't begging. I wasn't angry anymore. I was just observing. That scared her more than any yelling could. She tried to reel me back in. Told me she was cutting things off with Evan. Even went so far as to show me a breakup message she sent him. But the timestamp? It was after I confronted her. Too little. Too late. Too fake. At that moment, I knew she wasn't sorry she cheated. She was sorry she got caught. At this point, I had two choices: confront her again, or gather everything I needed to protect myself legally and emotionally. I chose the latter. I started documenting everything. Screenshots. Backed up emails. Saved photos. I even spoke to a lawyer a friend recommended, discreetly. He told me exactly what to collect, what not to say, and how to avoid tipping her off before I was ready. That's when I came up with a plan. One night, I told her I was thinking about taking a short solo trip, maybe visit my brother out of town, clear my head. She jumped at the idea. Yeah, that's probably a great idea, she said, barely hiding her relief. Some space might help. I left Friday morning. But I didn't go to my brother's. I parked my car 3 blocks away and waited. I had a hunch. At 6:42 p.m., I saw him. Evan. Right there on our front steps, in a navy hoodie and jeans, holding a bottle of wine like this was a damn date night. I watched him ring the bell, watched her open the door with that same smile she used to give me. They kissed before the door even closed. I didn't take a photo. I took video. From across the street, zoomed in, perfectly clear. That was all I needed. I didn't go back that night. I went to a hotel and sat with everything. My marriage. My anger. My plan. This wasn't just about heartbreak anymore. This was about control. She thought she had all of it. But now I was holding the cards. She just didn't know it yet. 3 days later, I walked back into that house with the calm of a man who'd already said goodbye. She was in the kitchen, acting like she hadn't hosted her secret boyfriend in our living room that weekend. Hey, she said brightly, like nothing had happened. Feeling better? I just smiled. Yeah. Actually, I am. She leaned in for a kiss. I let her kiss my cheek. It felt like a mosquito landing, annoying, meaningless. Over the next hour, I was cold but polite. I asked about her day. I did the dishes. I even helped fold laundry. She seemed to relax, thinking I'd accepted her version of reality. That maybe, just maybe, I was going to forgive her and pretend this never happened. Then, around 9 p.m., I said, "Elle, we need to talk." She paused, sensing the tone shift. Okay, about what? I pulled out a manila folder from my bag and laid it on the table between us. She opened it, screenshots, timelines, photos, a copy of the real estate listing from Denver, the video of her kissing Evan on our porch. Her face drained of color. You said you ended it, I said flatly. But you invited him over 3 hours after I left. She didn't speak. Just stared. I also spoke to a lawyer, I continued. Don't worry, I'm not here to scream or throw anything. I'm here to tell you I'm done. And I'm not letting you spin this into something it's not. Still nothing. So I added, this folder is a copy. The original's with my attorney. That's when she finally reacted. No, wait, please, can we talk about this? Now she was crying again. The panic was real this time, not because she regretted what she'd done, but because her control was slipping. This isn't you, my name. You're not this cold. We can fix this. We were happy once. No, I said quietly. I was happy. You were lying. I walked out. She followed me to the door, sobbing, begging, not for love, but for damage control. I didn't look back. For once, I was the one who disappeared. The next few days were a whirlwind. She called, texted, emailed. All hours of the day and night. The messages flipped wildly. One moment she was begging, apologizing, promising therapy, church, a clean slate. The next, she was blaming me again, saying I'd emotionally abandoned her long before Evan came into the picture. I blocked her on everything. She then emailed from a burner account. Yes, a burner Gmail. Like I was dealing with a scam artist, not the woman I used to fall asleep next to every night. Meanwhile, Evan, that spineless coward, tried reaching out too. He sent me a message on Instagram of all places, saying he didn't mean for this to happen, that things just got complicated, and the one that really made me laugh. I think you and I could talk this out man to man. As if this was a parking dispute, not a full-blown betrayal that gutted 8 years of my life. I didn't respond. I just screenshotted it and sent it to my lawyer. Speaking of, the legal process was brutal at first. Sorting out assets, figuring out the house, splitting bank accounts. But thankfully, my documentation mattered. Because of the timeline, the deceit, and the proof of her double life, we were able to move for a fault-based divorce citing adultery. In my state, that still means something. She tried to claim I was emotionally cruel for collecting evidence without telling her. That got laughed out of mediation. She wanted to keep the house. That got laughed out again. Every lie she had told, every little manipulation, was suddenly laid bare, not just to me, but to lawyers, to mediators, and eventually to friends and family. People who used to praise her poise and kindness suddenly weren't returning her calls. Funny how truth works. After things started moving legally, something I didn't expect happened. People began reaching out to me. Friends. Co-workers. Even her sister. At first I thought they were checking in. But slowly, it became clear a lot of people had seen pieces of something wrong, but no one had connected the dots. One of her old co-workers messaged me and said, I always wondered why she had a second phone. Thought it was a work thing. A second phone. That was new. Another friend, someone we used to hang out with as a couple, told me that a few months back Elle had mentioned thinking about moving out west, but she said it was a secret and not to tell me yet because she hadn't made up her mind. And her sister, who'd always been kind to me but never close, actually apologized. She's done this before, she said bluntly on the phone. Not to this level, but yeah. Elle lies when she wants something. Or someone. She doesn't think rules apply to her. It hit me like a second betrayal, not just what Elle did, but how she had fooled so many people. How she'd created a version of herself that no one dared question. That second phone? I found it a week later, stuffed into an old boot box in the back of her closet. Dead battery. I charged it. When it turned on, I almost wished I hadn't. There were messages to multiple men. Nothing physical in most, but suggestive. Secretive. Like she was running emotional affairs in the background, all while telling me I wasn't attentive enough. At that point, the emotional numbness cracked. I felt fury. Not just for the betrayal, but for how systematic it all was. This wasn't one mistake. It wasn't even about Evan. She didn't just cheat on me. She collected exits. Backup plans. Ego boosts. Safety nets. And for years, I thought I was her forever. Turns out, I was just a placeholder until something better came along. It's a strange thing when the person you loved becomes a stranger, but worse than a stranger because they know exactly how to hurt you. They know your soft spots, your values, your triggers. And if they're manipulative enough, they'll weaponize every one of them. That's what Elle did. She tried one last trick. She played the mental health card. I got a letter in the mail, a handwritten letter, in her soft, careful handwriting. Pages of tear-stained confessions, yes, there were actual water stains, where she claimed she had suffered from disassociation and identity confusion and didn't know who she was when she was with Evan. She said I was the only person who ever made her feel safe, but that she'd sabotaged it because she didn't feel worthy of being loved. It was convincing. I'll admit that. If I hadn't seen everything I'd seen, the second phone, the timeline, the smug texts, the real estate listings, I might have believed her. That was the dangerous part. She knew how to sound sincere. She didn't apologize because she was sorry. She apologized because it worked before. But not this time. I didn't respond. That was the day I realized something huge, and maybe this is the part one want people reading this to really take in. Closure doesn't come from them. It comes when you stop needing their version of the story. Elle wanted me to play my role. The forgiving husband. The savior. The idiot who would say, "It's okay, I know you didn't mean it," and let her rewrite history again. But I had finally stepped out of the illusion. I saw the real her. Not the curated version. Not the charming storyteller. Not the victim of her own confusion. Just a person who lied. Repeatedly. Strategically. Without remorse. And once you see that truth, you can't unsee it. After I read that letter, the manipulative, theatrical mess of half-truths and emotional bait, I folded it once, twice, then dropped it in the shredder without a second thought. That was the first time I felt powerful in months. See, for a while, I thought I needed answers. I thought I needed her to confess, to explain, to fall to her knees and admit everything. I imagined it like a courtroom scene in my head, the truth finally laid bare, and me walking away, vindicated. But the truth is, people like her don't confess. They adapt. They rewrite the story so many times they forget where the lies even started. They convince themselves that they're victims. And if you wait around for their honesty, you'll rot in the waiting room of your own life. So I stopped waiting. I started small. Took her pictures down from the walls. Packed away our wedding album. Tossed the mugs with the cheesy couple quotes. I changed my Spotify password, small thing, but she always used my account. And one day I logged in and saw she'd been playing our playlist. Still. As if that music meant anything now. I deleted the playlist. Blocked her number. Again. She'd gotten a new one. Filed the final paperwork with my lawyer. The divorce was uncontested at that point, her shame, or maybe exhaustion, finally catching up. And then I did something I hadn't done in over a year. I sat outside with a beer, watched the sky go dark, and didn't think about her once. No imagined arguments. No fantasy comebacks. No what ifs. Just quiet. And peace. It felt like waking up after years of sleeping with a weight on my chest. I wasn't whole yet. I wasn't healed. But for the first time, I was free. Healing, I've learned, isn't linear. You don't just walk out of a broken marriage and wake up the next morning reborn. Some days I felt solid, like I'd shed something heavy and toxic. Other days? The ghost of her would show up in the quietest moments. A smell. A song. A stupid TV commercial. And just like that, I'd feel that old sting again. Not love. Not longing. Just the memory of being lied to so convincingly, so thoroughly, that I questioned my own perception of reality. But I didn't wallow in those moments. I marked them. Every time I felt that ache, I wrote it down. Track the triggers. I treated it like recovery because it was emotional detox. She still popped up here and there, of course. Mutual acquaintances would mention her. Apparently, things with Evan didn't last long after everything blew up. Not surprising, relationships built on deception tend to implode. I was told she moved in with a friend, started posting cryptic healing journey quotes on Instagram. Stuff like sometimes we outgrow people who still live in our hearts. No, Elle. You didn't outgrow me. You betrayed me. Big difference. I didn't follow her accounts. I didn't ask around. But sometimes, people sent me screenshots anyway, like they expected a reaction. I usually just deleted them. Though I admit, one night I looked. Just one night. And what I saw? A picture of her, glass of wine in hand, writing some artsy caption about starting over with brutal honesty. I almost laughed. Out loud. Because if there's one thing I've learned, it's this. People like her don't start over with honesty. They just start over with new people who haven't caught on to the lies yet. And thank God I'm no longer one of them. It's been almost a year now. A full rotation of the earth since my world cracked open and I saw who I was really married to. Since then, I've signed the papers, moved to a new apartment, changed my routine, even taken a solo trip, something I never thought I'd do without her. And you know what? I'm okay. I'm better than okay. I'm rebuilding me, and not the version I was in that marriage, always second-guessing myself, constantly managing her moods, shrinking to keep the peace. Here's the biggest lesson I learned, and if you take nothing else from this ridiculously long post, please take this. You don't owe anyone your sanity just because you used to love them. Love doesn't mean blind loyalty. It doesn't mean tolerating lies dressed up as mistakes. It doesn't mean sacrificing your peace for the comfort of someone who's hurting you. If they lie once, they might be sorry. If they lie repeatedly, strategically, and make you feel crazy for noticing, that's not love. That's manipulation. And if you feel like something's off, trust yourself. You're not paranoid. You're paying attention. People like Elle don't walk in wearing villain capes. They walk in smiling, saying all the right things. They build you up just enough to make the fall hurt more when they drop you. And when they do, they'll hand you the blame, too. So what would I tell anyone in a similar situation? Don't wait for the perfect evidence. If it feels wrong, it probably is. Document everything. Not for revenge, for protection. Don't expect closure from them. Give it to yourself. And finally, walk away with your head up. You didn't fail. You escaped. I used to think the worst thing that could happen was my wife cheating on me. Turns out, the worst thing would have been staying. Thanks for reading. Be safe out there. And don't ignore your gut. A guy who finally listened to his. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any new stories.